Hello and welcome back to the Cover Drive podcast. I am your host Assad. I feel like I have not said that in a long time. Uh, we are back now with a podcast. Under some not very nice circumstances, Pakistan officially got knocked out of the World Cup yesterday after losing to England. I mean, if we think about it, they actually got knocked out at the toss when Joss Butler decided to break all our hearts by electing to bat first in a red rubber match when he didn't really need to. Um, I did not have it in me to record the podcast during the World Cup because too many raging emotions that go through as the tournament progresses, especially when you're a Pakistan cricket fan. But now that it's all done and dusted, I'm glad to be, not glad to be, but I'm here and I'm joined by Haris and Zain, who you better know as President Misbah on Twitter. And we are here to do a post-mortem on Pakistan's World Cup campaign. What went wrong? What's the future looking like? Obviously, major upheaval is on the way, and we're here to break it down. Uh, so yeah, I'll just start off with Zain. Quick, quick summary. What went wrong for Pakistan? Obviously, we're going to expand on this a lot. But what do you think were the main things that went wrong with us this tournament?
First of all, Assalamu alaikum to all the listeners. I think the main issue that we had was a lot of your main players just did not stand up. Like, if you think about people that we had pretty high expectations from, Babar Azam is a name that comes to mind. Shaheen, um, maybe Shaheen a bit less than the others, but I would also put him there personally. Aside from that, Haris Rauf for sure. I think that's another name that should be added. And Shadab Khan for sure. I think that is the person among the four we should highlight the most. Then if you think about some of the supporting players, like technically if आपने उसमें 4 सालों की इन्वेस्टमेंट किया तो इमाम को भी कुछ तो करना चाहिए था, ये तो नहीं करना चाहिए था जिसने किया. And then you have, trying to think, even someone like Nawaz, right? Like, you need a slow left armer on Indian pitches. Not all of them, because a lot of them were very flat in this World Cup. But even like in Chennai, आपको एक बंदा चाहिए जो टॉप ऑफ ऑफ पे बस लाइन लेंथ मेंटेन करे, वो नहीं कर पा रहा था. So that was a big issue. तो एक तो अगर आप टीम की परफॉर्मेंस को देखो, they did not perform. Like, you expect Shaheen Shah Afridi to be like that guy जो आपको एटलीस्ट T20s में तो देता है ना, या that first over wicket. So you expect him to be a threat in the power play. He was a ghost in the power play this whole tournament. I think उसने 2 wickets लिए थे. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but he did not do anything in the power play. He would often pick up the slack in the middle overs and the death, and that's okay, fair enough. He ended up among the highest wicket takers. I think he took 18 wickets, and his average ठीक थी 27 wickets. But that's his role in the team. A team operates in terms of team dynamics. Like, you have certain roles that you fulfill, and he did not do that. हारिस रऊफ को आपने मिडिल ओवर्स में विकेट टेकर बनाया हुआ है, थ्रेट बनाया हुआ है. वो उसने तो टॉप रन गेटर लिस्ट में अपना नाम भी डाल दिया. पता नहीं 500, उसने 600 कितने खाए हैं. दैट्स नॉट गुड इनफ, राइट? एंड शादाब खान इज सपोज टू ऑफर यू बैलेंस इन द टीम, कि आपको वो लोअर ऑर्डर में कुछ कंट्रीब्यूशन करे बैट के साथ, और फिर मैं वो भी मिडिल ओवर्स में ही सपोज टू बी अ विकेट टेकर, राइट? ही सपोज टू प्रोवाइड बैलेंस, बट he can't even land the ball on the pitch. So, that's when you see stuff like that, then as a fan, you just get extremely frustrated. At some point, it just feels like they don't want it hard enough, like they don't want to win. That might sound harsh, but जितना मैंने वर्ल्ड कप देखा है, flat body language, I felt like they would accept defeat on the field. And this is a trend, like you will all agree with me, I'm sure. This is a trend we've been seeing for the past few tournaments, games, जो भी big somewhat है. एशिया कप भी समझ लो, हमारे लिए तो बिग ही, हमने सिर्फ 2 ही जीते हैं. तो I mean, I'm right now I'm just focusing on the what went wrong in terms of the players themselves. But then you can even add all of the stakeholders, like you have you Zoom head coach, हम Zoom पे बैठे हैं, वो भी बैठा होता है, he's useless. Grant Bradburn is useless. I don't know what they're doing there. उसके अलावा इंजमाम ने जाके आपने बाबर के साथ अपनी टीम बनाई, but आपकी टीम ने कुछ किया नहीं, तो that blame comes on you as well. And then you, the captain and the vice captain, like what more can I say about them? And then those wo bhi stakeholders हैं, and then you have your administrative stakeholders like Zaka Ashraf, uski management committee, Najam Sethi before him, uski management committee, Ramiz Raja, complete. I think उस Ramiz Raja को तो ज़्यादा blame मिलनी चाहिए, because he's the buffoon who cleared out our whole schedule for T20s, right? तो ये जो बात होती है कि हमने कुछ खेला नहीं, तो वो तो इसकी वजह थी ना, तो दो दो तीन तीन ओडीआई हर टूर में थे, उसने कन्वर्ट कर दिए थे सबको T20s में. तो टॉप टू बॉटम every stakeholder was a buffoon. Even I will even put the blame on the fans who are so content with mediocrity and sustain this bloody cult of personality and क्रिएट दिस डिलूजनल, मतलब सोप ऑपराफिकेशन हो गई है हमारे फैंस की. लाइक एक जमाने में 99 में आप फाइनल में जीते थे, तो आपको फाइनल में जीते नहीं थे, फाइनल में हारते थे, आपको फिर अंडे पड़ते थे जिन्ना एयरपोर्ट पे अगर आप फाइनल में भी हार जाओ. और अब जो है आप हारते हो तो आपको जी फैन कैम मिलते हैं, और जक्का अशरफ के भी फैन कैम बन जाते हैं. लाइक इट्स जस्ट रिडिकुलस, राइट? सो यू ब्लेम दीज फैंस एज वेल बिकॉज देव सस्टेन्ड दिस. If you could be a bit more critical and be fans of the team and not individuals, then maybe there would be, at least you would have some iota of accountability for these players, right? Because you're wasting your time on them. So what went wrong? I think top to bottom everything went wrong, right? Every single stakeholder I can think of in Pakistan cricket is a bloody idiot, to be honest. So that's what went wrong. I don't know where the solutions come from, but that's all I can think of. My answer is just that every stakeholder involved just let us down.
I mean, हम इधर ही एपिसोड एंड कर सकते हैं because you pretty much summed it up. But यार वो फैन कैम्स वाली, बिफोर आई गो टू हारिस, वो फैन कैम्स वाली बात आई. नाउ दैट आई सिट हियर एंड आई थिंक अबाउट इट, 2015 में राहत अली ने जो कैच ड्रॉप की थी, अगर आज वाली फैन बेस होती ना, हम अगले 6 साल तक है ना उस पे वो तेरे बिन आतिफ असलम का कोई पता नहीं कोई रोंदू सा गाना लगा के ना उस पे कॉम्स बना रहे होते हैं अगले 10 साल तक. मतलब यार मैं विदाउट फेल फॉर द लास्ट 2 इयर्स, इट्स लाइक 11 नवंबर आता है, वो कैच ड्रॉप वेड वाली आ जाती है, शाहीन रो रहा है, शादाब रो रहा है. मतलब इतना it takes away, like people think this doesn't add up, like बहुत से naive, I don't blame them, like a lot of fans might be new to this and stuff, and I'm not saying I know any better than anyone else, but यार 18-20 साल क्रिकेट देखी है, वी मीन लाइक पता है ना कि we've seen some dark days. I'm sure Zain, Haris, you guys as well. We've seen teams with half the talent that this team has, with maybe half the resources. उस जमाने में तो इनके पास franchise contracts भी नहीं होते थे. They used to make absolute like nothing in terms of money. But and they used to have an even bigger shit show. If you guys think this is a shit show, भाई एजाज भट्ट का दौर देखा है हमने. हमने वो नजम सेठी और जका अशरफ का जो हेलेना सेल टाइप सिचुएशन चलता था कि हर दूसरे दिन कोई आके मनी इन द बैंक कैश इन करके चेयरमैन बन जाता था, फिर अगले हफ्ते आके वापस ऐसा लाइक बैक एंड फोर्थ. These shit shows have been going on forever. We've seen a lot of this. But at the end of the day, I understand this affects the players. I'm not taking away from that. I'm not minimizing the impact of that. इनको 4 महीने से सैलरी मिल रही है. I understand that that's not good and no one's defending that. But at the end of the day, when you add it all up, these players still have more than like maybe 10 times more money than what the 2010s generation of Pakistani cricketers. चलो 90s वाले comparable थे where they used to make a lot of money through endorsements and all that stuff. And I think this is the first generation since the 90s जो इस लेवल के पैसे तक पहुंच सक रहा है through multiple avenues, and good enough on them for doing that. But when you're on the field, when you're representing the badge, Pakistan ka badge, you have to leave it all out there. And I think the number one thing for me this World Cup was I didn't see that. I saw, as Zen said, ऐसा लगता था कि they फील्ड पे उतरते ही दख्ता बॉडी लैंग्वेज से पता चलता था कि ये ना it's a lost cause. And that's just not on, yaar. You can't. Afghanistan ke paas kaun si stability hai? Their players can't even live in Afghanistan. And look at the type of cricket they put on display this World Cup. Here, I don't want to get too deep into that right now. We'll obviously address these things later. Haris, what did you think went wrong this World
Yeah,
Cup?
I think just like you said,
Ek second, Haris. Before I start, please talk about your beautiful franchise, Lahore Qalandars, and what their impact this World Cup was.
yeah, I think like I was gonna say before I start, just on Zain and Batki, I don't think I have too much to say after that. But I think if you just ask me, if your original question was what went wrong, I think you have to look at the bowling, right? जिस तरह आपकी bowling ने performance दी है after 9 games at the World Cup, that was just pathetic, and that was not at a standard of Pakistan. That was not at the standard of international cricket, and that was not at the standard of a World Cup where you're contenders. I think I saw a stat on Twitter the other day that I want to say only I don't want to. I think there was one team, maybe Sri Lanka, that had a higher bowling economy than us, and we were second. And I read it as even Netherlands had a better bowling economy than us. So I mean that's just really bad from our bowling overall unit. You talked about Lahore Qalandars. Yeah, you have to start with Shaheen. Without Naseem, he was supposed to take up the mantle. And what we expect from Shaheen we expect from Shaheen is new ball wickets and he to make a dent in the power play and break up the game in the power play. That's the standard I have from Shaheen. Others may have a lower standard, but for me, that's the standard I have, and everyone should have because he's done that in the past. And we did not see that this World Cup at all. And then you talk about the other bowling. So Tika Hassan Ali, whatever his capacity, he did. Haris Rauf, absolutely horrendous. No control, no line and length, no aspect of yeah, chalo yaar, wicket leke de raha hai, even if he's leaking away runs. He leaked runs and lacked control. And then you come back to the spinners, Jisna Zenica, Shadab, Nawaz, Osama Mir, whoever we tried, it was just overall horrible. So I think it starts from the bowling. We won tournaments in the past where batting hasn't stepped up, or batting has stepped up in phases, but we were not gonna be winning any tournament with this current bowling lineup. So even the last couple of weeks or last week में जो Twitter में बात चल रही थी, schemes and do we have a chance? Can we make it to a semifinal in Kolkata and somehow beat in India? I just think that was more delusion than reality because the bowling lineup was nowhere near threatening enough to be quality team. So I think it starts from the bowling, but then like Zain said, overall the whole administration, batting, fielding, just body language was so down. I talked about this game. We lost to Australia. Okay, I thought that was the game we could have won, depending on because of the position we got ourselves in. But then we go to the game against Afghanistan, and in all likelihood, that's a must-win game. And we were flat. We scored 280, but then we take 2 wickets and let Afghanistan score 280 in Chennai. Like that was like flat, and we have reverse swing as well. Like Pakistan cricket team, of the past, look for reverse swing, and that gives life to the whole team. They wake up and like rise up. Ki, yaar, this is something that's happening, but we just looked flat. And even in must-win games, fielding we were flat. We had opportunities to change games from fielding, throwing, taking catches, causing runouts. Just overall, top to bottom, we were flat. Like Zain mentioned, then I talk about coaching absolutely, Mickey Arthur returning failure, and he failed again. We conveniently give him the keys to lead us to a World Cup. He failed us in 2019. There was bad decision making there, bad management, bad playing 11s. We saw that in this lineup as well. So overall, and then you can go into the PCB and the chaos they have there. The players are not, getting paid, all that stuff that, like you said, we'll get into later. But just bad management from top to bottom. And I just think everyone needs to be held accountable equally. But yeah, it starts from the bowling. That's what I would say.
I think that's pretty accurate. The bowling has been absolutely dire throughout this tournament. And I think that allows us to like kind of segue into the first bit of the analysis where we want here. Um, actually, yeah, no, we can talk about the coaches later. When we look at the bowling, I think everything kind of leads us down that rabbit hole where we start discussing the players' priorities and the PCB's priorities. Common theme across all of us so far has been Shadab Khan ने कितना disappoint किया हमें इस tournament में. Shadab Khan 4 years ago in 2019, you could argue like I remember I was not very involved on like I wasn't on cricket Twitter back then, but every single forum I would go on, everyone, I think it was a consensus that Shadab Khan is a future Pakistan captain in white ball cricket. To go from that, and look, he's done it in T20s, no doubt about that. He's arguably the most important T20 player in Pakistan. But priorities, I understand you're an amazing T20 player. I know everyone, both of you know he's my favorite player in the country, but the level of disappointment that I have had to face from this guy, इस बंदे के लिए इतनी गालियां खाई है हमने ट्विटर पे, लाइक मैंने, यार मेरे परदादों तक को गालियां पड़ी है फॉर लाइक रैपिंग शदाब खान ओवर द लास्ट 2 years ऑन ट्विटर. एंड दिस इज व्हाट यू गिव दिस इज व्हाट यू गिव मी बैक. आपसे बॉल लैंड नहीं हो रही पिच पे. यू आर सपोज टू बी आर लीड स्पिनर, आपसे बॉल पिच पे लैंड नहीं हो रही है. लाइक इज दिस अ जोक? ये क्या है ये क्या मतलब? I sometimes feel like an idiot for, you know, like having any sort of sympathy for these guys, because when you go out there and you give me absolute shit to look at, यार I had initially thought कि यार मैं ज्यादा मैचेस नहीं देखूंगा इस वर्ल्ड कप में, सिर्फ पाकिस्तान के देखूंगा, but I ended up finding time to like catch all these other matches as well. At least एक innings तो catch कर ही लेता था मैं, because obviously like matches तो सुबह के 3 बजे, 2-3 बजे स्टार्ट होते थे. बट यू लुक एट ऑल द टीम्स. साउथ अफ्रीका में आप केशव महाराज को देख रहे हो, अ, आप ये न्यूजीलैंड में आप मिचेल सैंटनर को देख रहे हो, इंडिया में आप कुलदीप यादव, आप जडेजा को देख रहे हो, ऑस्ट्रेलिया आप जैम्पा को देख रहे हो. लाइक यू लुक एट, एंड ऑब्वियसली अफगानिस्तान मैन, नूर अहमद, राशिद खान. हमने तो मोहम्मद नबी को भी मतलब सईद अजमल पीक बना दिया था, जिस तरह से हमने उसको कोई 2.8 की इकोनॉमी में हमने उसको खेला था उस मैच में. um, it's then you look at Pakistan, you have Shadab Khan, जिससे बॉल लैंड नहीं हो रही है. ऐसा लग रहा है कि ना बेसबॉल खेल रहे हैं हम लोग, जमीन को लगानी नहीं है बॉल को. देन यू हैड द चोजन वन उसामा मीर, जिसको सबने पता नहीं शदाब खान का अब्बा बनाया हुआ था, बट ही इज बेसिकली शदाब खान माइनस द बैटिंग एंड द फील्डिंग. उससे वो तो बोल रहा था चलो आप भाई देखो, ही लिव्ड अप टू, ही लाइक देखो लोग मुझे शदाब खान से कंपेयर करते, मैं शदाब खान की तरह ही बॉलिंग कराऊंगा. मैं अगर शदाब भाई नहीं पिच में लगा रहे तो मैं भी नहीं लगाऊंगा. एंड देन यू हैव नवाज, again another player who I have backed with all my heart, obviously Quetta Gladiators, and I cannot recognize this guy. The bowler he was, like even a year ago, I'm not even going to say 4 years ago, even a year ago, the bowler Nawaz was, and उससे टर्न ही नहीं हो रही है बॉल. रैंक टर्नर्स पे उससे बॉल टर्न नहीं हो रही है. Now, what I want you guys to talk about is priorities here. शदाब खान ने 2019 के बाद, आई थिंक कोई स्टैट आया था, अपेरेंटली उसने कोई 20 ही वनडे इंटरनेशनल्स खेले थे. नॉट थ्रू ओनली हिज फॉल्ट, ऑब्वियसली हमने स्केड्यूल भी इतने नहीं किए थे, एंड आई थिंक ही मिस्ड लाइक एटलीस्ट 10 ऑफ दोज थ्रू इंजरी, जो उसके 2019 से 21 तक उसके जो रिकरिंग इंजरी इश्यूज थे. नवाज हैज मोर और लेस प्लेड मेजोरिटी ऑफ द गेम्स पोस्ट 2019. आई थिंक बस वो 21 में ही pretty much replaced इमाद in the equation. But again, it comes down to उसने replace किया भी, I think उसने maximum कोई 30 मैचेस खेले होंगे. Again, when you compare that to India, who played, I think, twice the amount of those matches through this period, प्रायोरिटीज किधर है? ओके, बोर्ड आपको नहीं दे रही है मैचेस, दैट्स द बोर्ड्स प्रोरोगेटिव कि आपको वो मैचेस दें, एंड दे डिडंट गिव इट टू यू. एज जैन सेड, रमीज राजा ने आके आपके आधे जो ओडीआईस थे उनको टी20 से रिप्लेस कर दिए. और ये अब 24 की साइकिल आप देख लो, उसमें भी उसने यही गंद किया है. यू आर बेयरली प्लेइंग, एंड यू आर प्लेइंग लेस टेस्ट मैचेस देन बांग्लादेश. लाइक दैट्स एम्बैरेसिंग. आप बांग्लादेश से कम टेस्ट मैचेस खेल रहे हो, ओडीआईस भी आई थिंक हम उनसे कम ही खेल रहे हैं. तो ये आपकी प्रायोरिटीज हैं. But okay, that's what the board controls. That's not controllable for the players. Now, as a cricketer, I think योर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी इज कि आप देखो बोर्ड मुझे मैचेस नहीं दे रही है। आप पाकिस्तान कप भी नहीं खेल सकते बिकॉज माशाल्लाह से हमारी क्रिकेट बोर्ड की प्लानिंग इतनी महान है कि दे ऑलवेज स्केड्यूल दैट टूर्नामेंट टू कोइंसाइड विद आवर लाइक बायलैटरल कमिटमेंट्स। तो वो दैट्स नॉट ऑप्शन। बट आप आपके जितने आप शदाब था, शाहीन था, अ, उसामा था, आई थिंक इवन राउफ फॉर अ लिटिल बिट, हैदर गया था। हैदर ने तो चलो सारे फॉर्मेट्स खेले थे काउंटी में, बट लाइक दीज अदर गाइज दे वेंट टू द काउंटी सिस्टम, दे प्लेड द T20 प्लस एंड दे प्लेड द 100। उसी टाइम पे काउंटी सीजन भी चल रहा था। आई थिंक दे हैड अ बिट ऑफ, आई मीन आई थिंक रॉयल मेट्रो कप जो इनका वनडे कप है उस टाइम पे हमारी श्रीलंका सीरीज स्टार्ट हो गई थी। बट अगेन यू कुड हैव प्लेड सम काउंटी मैचेस। आपको पता है कि इस साल एक ओडीआई वर्ल्ड कप आ रहा है और आपके पास वो रिदम नहीं है लॉन्ग फॉर्म बॉलिंग की जो जरूरी है टू टू बी योर टीम्स लीड स्पिनर। सो एज अ शदाब खान, व्हाई एम आई प्लेइंग the T20 Blast and the 100 when we don't have a T20 World Cup this year? Why am I not playing county? Yeah, like I'm gonna leave you guys with that question. Zen, you go first.
I think with regards to priorities, it's a bit difficult to talk about that. I think that at a at the crux, as a competitor, as a sports person, you should have that drive and desire to outwork and outcompete everyone, because in my opinion that's the simple motto that makes you beat others, right? That those are the controllables for you. बाकी सब like scheduling and stuff वो तो आप नहीं control कर सकते, but these things you can control. So in my opinion, like a 4-month contract struggle, yeah, it's horrible, but that does not make you bowl full tosses and half trackers, right? That doesn't make you bowl these bloody huge, but the first game ball of the game में 5 wides दे देना, stuff like that. These are your own controllables. These are things that you should be working on. And unfortunately हमारे मुल्क में ये जो चीजें हैं, जो ये सारे रोड ब्लॉक्स हैं, डिसइकोनॉमीज ऑफ स्केल हैं, these are givens. So your controllables would be to work around those. अच्छा, so यार हारिस एक second.
I think Zen got a call, so Haris, you want to give your 2 cents on this?
Yeah, I think मैं सिर्फ ये कहूँगा कि you mentioned सीधी के board का priority क्या है, right? They cleared up the schedule. They didn't, allow our team to play a lot of ODIs even in a World Cup year. But then I think, because I watch other sports and I follow other sports. I think I always look to players, the competitors and the players that, want to put themselves over the others that they're going to compete with, find a way. They go out of their way to make themselves succeed, to make themselves put themselves in position where they can help the team. And I just look at our players, what, and I will never put down anyone for making money in cricket, because they have a very short span. Go make money, good for them. This is something they're good at, playing international sports, so they should have the right to make money, they should have the right to play leagues. But then when I think before the World Cup, the biggest tournament of most of these guys' life so far, and I'm sure they will have a lot more. What were we busy with? We were playing the Lanka Premier League. What were we busy with? We were playing the Canada T20 League. What are we busy with? We're playing the Major League Cricket. Like you said, we're going to England to play the 100 and to play the Vitality Blast. But there doesn't seem to be a priority of, longer format. There doesn't seem to be a priority of, hey, we have a World Cup coming. And is this something that's sustainable? Is this something that's sustainable for our bodies? Is this something that we're going to be in absolute prime condition, fitness wise, and not get exhausted playing these leagues? And is this something that's helping us as we get into that World Cup? And I think the answer is frankly no, because we saw that in performance. We saw that in the performance of Nawaz. We saw that in the performance of Shaheen, Shadab, and Haris Rauf. So I just think my question to these players and my kind of concern with these players is, could they have done more? And I think with the performance this World Cup, they will look back and they will say, we honestly could have done more. We could have done better to prepare ourselves. Did we have to play the Lanka Premier League a month before the World Cup? Honestly, I don't think so. You could have found a way I almost swore there, but you could have found a way to, get yourself ready for the World Cup. There's a World Cup coming. एक लंका प्रीमियर लीग अगर आप skip कर दो, कुछ नहीं होता यार. And maybe some of our better players, for example, Naseem might have been playing today. I blame that on the board as well. But coming back to it overall, okay, I think like I don't blame one person. I blame the system, kids. Like you talked about scheduling. Talk about where our priorities are. Can the PCB give a no objection certificate? Should they allow them to play these leagues? So I think it's a bunch of everything. I don't blame one specific person. I blame everything. But I think at the end of the day, this is what happens. When the system is like this, when the priorities are skewed, these are the results that you see. Like you go in a World Cup, and we talked about bowling, batting. Everything just seems all over the place. तो मैं यही कहूंगा थोड़ा सा my thoughts themselves are gone a little bit in a buzzer or थोड़ा सा mix हो गई हैं. But Zain, do you want to add on to whatever you were continuing? बोलो अगर आप कुछ कहना चाहते हो.
I think you summed it up pretty well. And yeah, man, priority wise, I think it's just tough to tell them, okay, do this, do that. At the end of the day, they are sportsmen, they have finite careers, they have to maximize their earnings. But what I personally, like you said, I just cannot forgive when I see players clearly not, fulfilling their potential and doing the best that they can. Right? I felt like that. And a lot of these tweets and these things and ये जो खबरें आ रही थी कि ये है वो है ये नहीं कर पाए, like to me that just sounds like regret. You didn't control your controllables and now you're crying about it. Like that I cannot forgive. Like how can you as a cricket player, how can you not be motivated to do everything in your power to be completely ready for the World Cup? जितने भी obstacles हो, जितना भी जो भी आपके सामने हो, that like the board is screwing you over, medical panels are screwing you over, fair enough. But how can you, as a competitive player, not have it in you to control everything you can to be ready for the pinnacle of cricket? This is the pinnacle of cricket, right? Like we all agree on that. And that is what I personally just cannot forgive from the players. दूसरी चीजें भी हैं, right? Then you blame the board for a plethora of other issues. के they've put so many roadblocks, they made it a political power grab, whatnot. But at the core, that priorities की जो बात है ना, मुझे बस ये है कि I cannot forgive what I saw, right? Like जो raw emotion आप देखते हो, I saw garbage. I saw pure garbage. That's all I can say.
And again, I think it's very obvious. Like all of us have said so far, कि we are pro the players earning money. We understand Pakistan में player की life cycle is very different to what a player's life cycle is in England or Australia or so on. But यार आप 2024 में जितने आपको खेलने खेल लो, आप 2022 में आपने खेल लिए ना, आपने 21 में, 2023 में एक ओडीआई वर्ल्ड कप है. यू कैन फॉरगो. अब यार, अब आपको जितने पैसे मिल रहे हैं ये लास्ट और ये खेलने के लिए 100, ओके, इट माइट बी अ लॉट व्हेन यू लुक एट इट इन द बिग पिक्चर, बट आई एम 100 के कॉन्ट्रैक्ट से ज्यादा लुक्रेटिव आपके पीएसएल के कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होते हैं. एलपीएल से तो बहुत ज्यादा ही लुक्रेटिव होते हैं. G20 आपको कितने ही पैसे दे रही होगी. लाइक यू गोटा डू एक होक्स होता है ना कि रिस्क एनालिसिस, कि यार देखो एक वर्ल्ड कप आ रहा है, मुझे अपनी बॉडी को प्रिस्टीन कंडीशन, एंड अगेन आई एम नॉट पुटिंग ऑल द ब्लेम ऑन द प्लेयर्स हियर, बट द कंट्रोलेबल फैक्टर इज देयर डिसीजन. द अनकंट्रोलेबल इज के बोर्ड क्या करती है. बोर्ड ने उनको एनओसी दे दिया, ओके, लाइक दैट्स द बोर्ड स्टुपिडिटी के दे डिडंट डिसाइड टू, दे डिडंट थिंक फॉर इवन अ सेकंड के वर्ल्ड कप आ रहा है, हमें हमारे पेसर्स को रेस्ट करना है. आपका शाहीन आफरीदी, यार दिस गाय इज बॉलिंग एट 130 के क्लिक्स एन आवर. इट वाज पेनफुल टू वॉच यार. 2 साल पहले जो हम देखते थे शाहीन को, एंड क्या हो गया है उसको. Hassan Ali, I'm not going to say much to, because obviously there was not much expectation coming in, but even he's like a classic case of mismanagement, right? With injuries and all that and workload. Rauf, again, he had that side strain, uh, and he's just looks like he's forgotten how to bowl altogether. तो देखो, हम we're not putting all the blame on the players, but एक mentality होती है. They're facing the same obstacles that cricketers in Pakistan have faced for decades. This is, you just have to take some responsibility on yourself as well. अपने controllables आप देखो. जो चीजें बोर्ड कर रही है, we will always criticize them for it. But आपके decisions ने भी इस टीम को let down किए हैं. And I'm sorry, but that's something that's going to take a long time for me to forgive. Unless some of these guys like just do a complete 180 over the next 2 years, win some trophies for us. Up 25 में Champions Trophy आ रही है, अगले साल T20 World Cup आ रही है. I don't think I'll be able to forgive this until we see something drastic like that. Because देखो, at the end of the day, हम भी एक emotional investment डालते हैं इस टीम में. We don't we don't enjoy sitting here and like criticizing the team's mentality or their intentions or their priorities. But आपके सामने जो facts हैं आपको वो देखने पड़ते हैं. खैर, आई थिंक बॉलर्स पे बहुत बात हो गई है अभी. अ, अभी हमें आई थिंक we can do a brief chat about the batting situation. Obviously, lots of disappointments there. Chief amongst them being Babar Azam. बाबर द कैप्टन पे हम वापस आएंगे, बट बाबर द बैटर पे पहले हमें बात करनी चाहिए. एंड अलॉन्ग विद दैट हिज बेस्टी जो अपने आप को मैथ्यू हेडन की सेकंड कमिंग समझता है. सईद अनवर की मैथ्यू हेडन, सोचो वो जिस तरह बातें करता है, ऐसा लगता है ना सईद अनवर को ना ये हमने 10 साल डीएच कर दिया, इतनी उसमें एटीट्यूड होती है. इमामुल हक, दिस गाय आई हैव नॉट, यार देखो, आई हैव नेवर सीन एन ओपनर गेट a bigger investment than Imamul Haq. 4 years completely uninterrupted. 4 भी नहीं, ये तो 6 हो गए हैं आई थिंक. 5 हो गए एटलीस्ट. 17 के एंड में आया था या 18 के स्टार्ट में आया था ये. और इसको एक अनइंटरप्टेड रन मिला है. लाइक ही हैजंट बीन ड्रॉप अनलेस उसकी वो बैक स्पेजम्स जो मैजिकली आके चली जाती हैं, if we take that into account. But like he has been supported throughout. 2019 में he had a disastrous tournament, uh, and even then he was persisted with, which is fair enough. आप एक player में investment डालते हो, that's how cricket works. आप you have to invest in a player, especially when you play this format so less. आपको एक player को pick करके you have to put your faith in him and see it through. What did he give us back in return? Absolutely nothing. यानी एक क्लब लेवल ओपनर की तरह इसने इस टूर्नामेंट में बैटिंग की है, सिंगल हैंडेडली स्लोइंग डाउन द टीम एवरी सिंगल टाइम. एंड व्हाट पिसेस मी ऑफ इवन मोर इज हमने फखर जमान को ड्रॉप किया और इस फ्रॉडिया को हमने 4 मैच और दिए हैं. लाइक इट्स जस्ट ridiculous. एंड देन यू हैव बाबर आजम. This guy is supposedly the best ODI player in the world. Number one by in rankings. If after this tournament our fans don't realize that these individual rankings don't mean anything in the big picture, I don't think they ever will. This guy bats, he has the number one ranking, but he bats like someone who's like ranked 100 in the world. जरा आप में एक, यार आप में एक होना चाहिए ना कि मैं बाबर आजम हूँ. नहीं, like he's like इतने स्लो खेल रहा है, स्पिनर्स को डर डर के खेल रहा है. एंड इफ आई एम बाबर आजम, आई एम embarrassed when Kuldeep Yadav and Hardik Pandya after that for that India game they say कि बाबर और रिजवान बहुत स्लो खेल रहे थे, तो वी वर नॉट वरीड, वी दे वर कंप्लीटली slowing the innings down. I that would be embarrassing to me, that would bruise my ego. बट इवन देन आफ्टर दैट उसने क्या किया, ही डिड नथिंग ऑल टूर्नामेंट. चलो उसने वो अफगानिस्तान मैच में थोड़ा खेल लिया, बट इवन इफ यू लुक एट दैट, द वे अफगानिस्तान बैटेड, इट जस्ट मेड अस लुक इवन मोर स्टूपिड फॉर द वे वी बैटेड. खैर, मैं तो बहुत बड़े टेंजेंट पे गया, बट हारिस, इमामुल हक, बाबर आजम, दिस टूर्नामेंट, व्हाट्स द वर्डिक्ट?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna use this word a lot today. But pathetic. That's what I would say. Shambolic, pathetic. You know, Imamul Haq se aap shuru kare. Like you said, 2017 के end में आया, we got rid of Azhar Ali, and Azhar Ali, come back, please, man, save us. But we got rid of Azhar Ali, and Mickey Arthur got rid of Azhar Ali to bring Imamul Haq in. And yeah, at that time, honestly, I was a pretty big fan of Imamul Haq. Looked good, scored 100 on his debut. There was a lot of doubt about his ability. Obviously the Perchi tag that was on him, but he proved people wrong. He proved people wrong by, slowly churning out runs. But, come 2019, it was kind of a mediocre World Cup. He scored 100 in the last game of the World Cup. And, we maybe thought there is some signs for the future. There's some brightness for the future. But you come back to 2023 and then, it's the same thing where, runs nahi ho rahe, bande se runs nahi ho rahe. And it's just overall like shambolic ki aap, technical issues. My biggest thing with Imamul Haq is he looked like a better player in 2019 than he is in 2023. We have so much investment in you. We have put so much time in you. And what are you like delivering? What is your output? The same weakness on the short ball, and you look worse on the short ball. You get this World Cup, actually, there was a couple of games where they showed highlights, and the highlight of 2019, our game against Australia was on, and Imamul Haq was pulling Stark at that time a couple of times. The highlights showed that. But where has that gone? You have gone downhill. And this actually applies, I know you're talking about batting, but this applies to our overall team. Every single player that they just kind of become lackluster, and they've taken this for granted. Yeah, hum established players hain. Shadab, Nawaz, Haris, Imam, Babur, Shaheen, we are established, and we just take this for granted. They've just kind of, there's a term in sports saying, like, don't take your foot off the gas pedal. But they just kind of just taking it for granted. Yeah, we are established players. We have number one ranking. We have number one all-rounder. We have this, we have that. And the results, absolutely nothing. So Imam ki baat karo, just technical issues, didn't look assured. But what we expected from him, at least show up against spin and do something, perform against spin. He was set against India, threw his wicket away like a professional opener should not. And just overall very disappointing. I don't think इस podcast के लिए मैं Imamul Haq, the way I honestly feel about Imamul Haq, मैं इस podcast पे बता नहीं सकता. Like I tweeted the other day that, like, I don't honestly like looking at his face right now. It's just I don't feel good when I look at his face. मुझे अच्छा नहीं लग रहा. But yeah, and you summed it up, right? Who are we keeping out? Fakhar Zaman for someone like him. And I tweeted this, and people were coming at me like, "Oh, sorry, we didn't take out Fakhar Zaman. Fakhar Zaman was out for Abdullah Shafiq." Right? Your management and our captain decided to play Imamul Haq over Fakhar Zaman. That was the choice. That was the choice they made, and it was the wrong choice, right? When you look back, 2 years later, 1 year later, and analyze this World Cup, that was the wrong choice. We bet on the wrong horse, and we failed. Quite literally, because he is a horse, as he himself likes to call himself. ये मैं नहीं बोल रहा, वो खुद अपने आप को horse बोलता है. We bet on the wrong person.
For anyone who doesn't know this reference, for your own sanity, don't Google it.
I'm coming back.
Warning हमने अभी से दे दी है, अब फिर आप हमें ना बोलना.
Coming back, that was actually not like, man, I was not gonna like make a Imam joke, but like genuinely, it is a term, right? Bet on the wrong horse, and we did. But anyways, coming back to Babar Azam, again, very disappointing. Expected a lot more from him, especially the game against India. Well, I kind of blame Babar a lot for that game against India, because जो मैं Babar से expect करता हूँ, I have gotten a lot of hate for his captaincy. Whatever, I've gone on record several times to, say how I feel about his captaincy, but batting still, you have expectations from him, because I genuinely believe in his batting ability and what he had potential of. But this is not the same Babar Azam that we saw in 2019, 2020, 2018. But the same Babar Azam, which we all fell in love with. That kind of that flash he used to have, the cover drives, the on drives, the pulls, and the spin game even, using his feet, going over covers, and taking out the slog sweep. This looks like a shell of the batsman that he was, 3-4 years ago, where maybe he's kind of redefined his game a little bit. थोड़ी सी उसने game more compact कर लिया, and that's fine. But the output should not be any less. You look at that game against India, he had gotten a 50, and he gotten a good 50, and he was set. And he threw his wicket away, and this was the theme for Babar Azam all tournament. The game against Australia, it was such a good batting strip, one of the best chasing grounds in the world. And Babar Azam off to a really good start, but he threw it away. So I don't know if there was a little bit of uncertainty, a little bit of captaincy pressure, but just because he never once, maybe one out of 9 innings or 2 out of 9 innings where he struggled. Babar Azam is struggling today. But most of the innings, he looked okay at the start. He would get out, meaning like he would get out of the and start scoring pretty easily. Get a couple fours away, and then you look up Babar Azam on 20, 15, 25. So that's the hardest part, getting away and getting out of that, single digit scores. But then once he gets out of that, like managing ways to get out. So that didn't, to me, like he got a world class batsman who's absolutely assured of himself, and who knows that once I'm here, I'm gonna make this about me and not hold this game by the scruff of its neck and not let go. That assuredness I wanted from Babar Azam, at least in batting, or we expect in ODI batting at least. I didn't see. The overall very disappointing. And yeah, uh, just there could have been a lot more. And I think even when Babar Azam looks back on this World Cup from his batting, we all expected at least a couple hundreds from him, and not even getting 100 or not even contributing to a winning contribution. Very disappointing. मैं इससे ज़्यादा और क्या बोलूं, like same thing I said for Imam. Just expected a lot more from all our players and just didn't deliver.
And like, yaar, dekho, I go back and I look at Babar Azam batting in 2019, and it's a common theme. Like we talked about Shadab, we talked about Shaheen, we talked about Rauf, we talked about so many. They've all regressed, yaar. Matlab, it's so evident, and like we talk about Babar Azam, and before I go forward, आई नो मेरे पे हमेशा ये आती है क्रिटिसिज्म कि आप सिर्फ बाबर पे क्यों बात करते हैं, आप दूसरों पे बात करें. वी स्पेंट आई एम टाइमिंग इट हियर, वी स्पेंट अप्रोक्सीमेटली 35 to 40 minutes टॉकिंग अबाउट एवरीवन बट बाबर आजम. तो अब ये आप लोग ना आके कहना कि आपने दूसरे प्लेयर्स के बारे में कुछ नहीं बोला है. तो यार, आपने आपको एक पेडेस्टल पे रखा है फैन बेस ने. आपको कोहली से मिलाया जाता है, आपको कहते हैं कि आप पाकिस्तान के ग्रेटेस्ट बैट्समैन हैं, एंड लाइक सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ. And you churn out this campaign. You're अब्दुल्ला शफीक, जिसने इस टूर्नामेंट से पहले कोई कितने ओडीआई, आई थिंक 4 या 5 ओडीआई खेले होंगे हमारे लिए, मे बी मोर, बट whatever, it's like it's nothing. He looked so assured and so confident in his own ability कि भाई I know what I am as a batsman. यार उसने, this is like just one moment and it doesn't mean a lot in the big picture, but उसने जो straight lofted, जो उसने चौका मारा था बुमराह को in front of 120K people at the Modi Stadium. Like that shows you the that type of attitude you have towards your game. Okay, bhai, I am playing arguably the best ODI bowler in the world, but I'm gonna take him on. I back myself to do it. Babar Azam has been playing this sport for now 15 में डेब्यू हुआ था, मेरा मैथ थोड़ा हल्का है, but yeah, 8 years. And he still doesn't look like he backs himself. He doesn't look like he's बाबर आजम. अभी वो एक कंजर्वेटिज्म आ जाती है जो एक आपके ट्रेडिशनल पाकिस्तानी बैटर में होती है ना, एक उसमें भी सेटल हो गई है. आप उसकी फिटनेस देख लें, 5 4 साल पहले उसकी क्या फिटनेस थी, अभी उसकी क्या फिटनेस है. अब आके आपके फैंस बोल देंगे नहीं नहीं आप बॉडी शेम ना करें, आप ये ना करें. भाई मैं बॉडी शेम नहीं कर रहा किसी को. You're a professional athlete. You're paid to go out there and play a sport and be the fittest you can be at it. And I'm not only talking about बाबर. आप इमाम को देख लें, आप इस आधी टीम को उठा के देख लें, अपार्ट फ्रॉम लाइक मे बी 4 or 5 guys, दिख रहा है विजिबली कि उनमें वो फिटनेस लेवल्स नहीं है जो एक एलीट टीम में जरूरी होते हैं. आप खुशी खुशी जाके आप बात करें, जी हैदराबादी बिरयानी बहुत अच्छी है, हैदराबादी बिरयानी इज बेस्ट, नंबर 1. मतलब यार, आप एक वर्ल्ड कप खेलने आए हो, यूर अ प्रोफेशनल एथलीट, यूर आप बिरयानियां खा रहे हो. This is every single team has a diet plan, यार. 2023 है. This isn't the 90s anymore. This information is all out there. If you want to be fit, you will stay fit. ये आपके ऊपर है. आप कोई भी प्लेयर को उठा लो. खैर, बाबर की कैप्टनसी पे आते हैं. And I think this might be our last segment because we are kind of running up on time. But Zan, I'm gonna give this one to you because I think हम तीन जितना जलील हुए हैं over the last 12 months when it comes to Babar's captaincy. I hate to say that we told you so, but we told you so. इस बंदे में नहीं है वो बात इस टीम को नेक्स्ट लेवल पे लेके जाने की एज अ कैप्टन. As a captain, you need to inspire confidence on the field. Instead, this guy does the opposite. And if anything, उसने कल उसका इंटरव्यू था like after the match, and he's like, देखे गलतियां करना कोई गुनाह नहीं है. I think he even said that he wants to oversee the rebuild after this. यार मतलब आप थोड़ी इंटेग्रिटी दिखा दो. आपको एक पूरे 4 साल का रन दिया हुआ है अनइंटरप्टेड, जिसमें आई वुड से for most of more than like about 60% of that run, you were basically running this team with an iron fist. आपको सारा पावर दे दिया था रमीज राजा ने कि आपको जो करना है इस टीम के साथ आप करो, एंड यू हैव नथिंग टू शो फॉर इट. तो आई एम सॉरी बट इट्स टाइम अप नाउ यार. लाइक यू नीड टू शो some honesty with yourself and with the team. Zen, ये जो एक we've referred to this a lot when we talk on call, culture of mediocrity जो एक सेट हुआ है, it comes from the top. What do you think Babar Azam as a captain's legacy is going to be after it's this World Cup?
I think after this World Cup, his legacy as a captain will be one of regret and disappointment, unfortunately. I think that there was a lot of expectation on him. I think कि जो उसको कप्तानी मिली थी वो completely merited मिली थी. If everyone remembers, Safraz was declining as a player. I think around 2020, if I'm not wrong, the Australia में जो white ball tour होता है, I think that was his first assignment as captain. Babar's first assignment as captain. This was
19 के एंड पे.
yeah, this was after we lost that series 3-0 to like a Sri Lanka B team or something. So that's completely merited. And I'll be completely frank, there was no other option at that time that could even be made captain. This was around the same time when Shadab Khan ke काफी फॉर्म गिर गया था and people were calling for his head from the team, if I'm not wrong. तो जो बंदा groom हो रहा था to be the captain, he was not performing. So naturally, at that point, you kind of have to give it to your best performer, and he was doing as well as he could. But in terms of legacy, the thing is that I don't know. I don't think any Pakistani captain has gotten as much tournament exposure in such a condensed time period as Babar Azam has. I will always say this, that Asia Cups are big for Pakistan because we don't win them. So he had two Asia Cups, he had two World T20s, and he had this World Cup, right? So that's 5 tournaments. I might be missing a few, but I think that's it. Usme,
Bangladesh.
yeah, well, I don't count that. This is useless try series. Um, in all these tournaments, we would always get in positions of control, and as Haris said, we would let our foot off the gas right when we get in the position of control. आपका पाँव जो है वो opponent के गले पे होता था, and then आप instead of crushing their neck, आप बस पाँव छोड़ देते थे. तो ऐसे तो आप नहीं जीत सकते. And when it happens too much, then it becomes a pattern and a trend, right? अगर आप इस वर्ल्ड कप में देख लें, जो उसकी जो कंजर्वेटिव फील्ड प्लेसमेंट्स हैं, वो कौन सी गेम थी, वो स्लिप ही नहीं ला रहा था. आई थिंक वाज दिस साउथ अफ्रीका गेम where he just was not bringing in a slip. Like, how are you supposed to manufacture wickets by expecting your players to bowl magic deliveries? And they were still bowling magic deliveries. But that's not how it works. If you go to 2015, the game that made me fall in love with Pakistan cricket, Pakistan versus South Africa, इतनी aggressive field placements हुई थी उस गेम में. Why? Because they understood that you cannot defend 232 against a South Africa team, that South Africa team, right? So how as a captain are you not being more proactive in your field placements? इसकी फील्डिंग भी हिट और मिस होती है, पहले बहुत अच्छी होती थी. इट्स डिक्लाइंड हेविली. aside from that, I think प्लेयर्स ने तो कहा है वैसे ही इज अ गुड मोटिवेटर, बट अब तो वहां भी रिफ्ट्स आ रहे हैं. अ लॉट ऑफ प्लेयर्स आर नॉट, सम ऑफ द प्लेयर्स आर स्टार्टिंग टू क्रिटिसाइज हिम मोर. तो उसकी भी बात आती है. फिर वो बड़ा मशहूर किस्सा है, जब वो वर्ल्ड T20 में हमारी गेम थी इंडिया के साथ, तो आखिरी ओवर में ही लॉस्ट हिज हेड एंड ही वाज जस्ट स्टैंडिंग देयर, ही डिडंट नो व्हाट टू डू. वो बातें नहीं कर रहा था नवाज से. आई स्टिल रिमेंबर लाइक शाहीन एंड शादाब एंड रिजवान वर विद नवाज एंड you couldn't see the captain. Like, that's so disappointing to me. If that's the image you're giving to your players, then that you've given up. And before every game is the same script. जी डेफिनेटली हम कर सकते हैं और हम करेंगे. ये होती है हर हर हडल में, ये स्पीच आती है. फिर मैच के अंदर स्क्रिप्ट फॉलो होती है. T20 में 6 overs of pace, 8 overs of spin, 6 overs of pace. And ODIs maybe, I guess, there's a script that he follows. And then when we lose, then you go back to the जी डेफिनेटली बहुत कोशिश की थी और गलतियां हो गई, हम गलतियों से सीखेंगे इंशाल्लाह और उम्मीद है कि हम अगली बार कुछ बेहतर करेंगे, कुछ जीतेंगे. लाइक आई एम सीरियस. इफ यू गो टू मोस्ट ऑफ हिज पोस्ट मैच games, whatever he says, this is the same script, right? At some point you can't just keep saying कि हम सीखेंगे, नहीं सीख रहे ना, तो then you have to move on. So yeah, I'm very thoroughly disappointed. I was a I was a huge fan of Babar Azam back in the day, but given the amount of tournaments he's had the privilege of captaining in, he doesn't have anything to show for it, right? And at that point, when you've seen so much that एक बंदे में capacity नहीं है to win as a leader, then you have to move on, right? And I would say at this point he's also kind of lost the dressing room, because in my opinion, even if थोड़े से लोग आपकी captaincy के खिलाफ हो जाए ना, that to me indicates that you've lost it, because you're only as strong as your weakest link, and unity wise you have a lot of weak links now, because they don't want to, and rightly so, they don't want to be under your captaincy. So I guess I would just sum it up that it's a shame that he's not, he said he won't step down on his own. like आप इतनी जिद नहीं कर सकते अपनी टीम के साथ, और अपनी सिलेक्शंस के साथ, and अपनी the way you want to approach things के साथ, and not be held liable, right? This is real life. It's a meritocracy, and accountability exists as a concept. So as a leader, if you want to create a culture, because leaders create a culture from the top down to execute a vision, right? And not just him. This includes Mickey Arthur, Grant Bradburn, Shadab Khan, all of these guys, right? If you want to create this and fail, then you are held liable. And in Inzamam Haq, then you should all be removed and new leaders should be appointed. So yeah, that's my opinion. I wouldn't pin it just on Babar as a leader. I think he has been allowed to be the way he is by the board, by Ramiz Raja, by his vice captain Shadab, by his head coaches, क्या कहते हैं, Saklan, of course Saklan, Mickey and Grant. So you have to blame all of these leaders, right? He alone didn't lead. There's a lot of leaders in a think tank. You blame the whole think tank, not just Babar. You blame Shadab and all of the other names I mentioned. And in the future, I would say that we need a new vice captain. I think we need a new captain. We need new coaches. We need to change things. You can even take this all the way up to the chairman, right? Because ultimately he's the real leader here. So yeah, I'd say those two words that I said when I started this whole rant, disappointment and regret, I think those are the words that would sum up Babar Azam's legacy as a captain for Pakistan.
No, I think that's very well said, Zen. And again, uh, I would say chief offender amongst all of these stakeholders is Ramiz Raja, because at the end of the day, Babar Azam wouldn't have all this unrivaled power if Ramiz Raja did not give it to him, right? देखो Babar Azam was not competent enough to lead a team like this, like with all this power. He could have been made into a very capable captain as long as he had that think tank behind him. But किया क्या रमीज ने, उसने देखा कि भाई देखो 92 में खान साहब ने किया, तो मैं हम भी करेंगे भाई, देखो it's 2023. I don't think any top team in the world at this point has a captain with that kind of concentrated power anymore. आप इंडिया में देख रहे हैं तो Dravid has overseen a very big shift in the power dynamic. Uh, Australia में Cummins is the captain, but you clearly see on the field that it's a very like combined effort between him, Smith, and a lot of the senior players. Similarly, England is not the greatest example right now, but they only did just win a T20 World Cup last year. They are like the epitome of having decentralized power, where it's a collective effort. You have the captain who buys into the team philosophy and executes it. और वो philosophy आपकी coaching think tank और analyst set करते हैं. तो I think obviously as much as I blame Babar, it's the enablers who have the higher level of blame as well. And with that, I just want to go to you, Haris, and Zen for a quick 2 minutes. What changes do we want to see from here? And before that, just a quick shout out to some of the performers. हमने बुराइयां बहुत कर ली. वसीम जूनियर, लव यू. जितना शैम्पू मैं कहता हूँ, तुम्हें लाइफ टाइम का शैम्पू सप्लाई मिलना चाहिए. जब से हारिस ने तुम्हें पूछा तुम कौन सा शैम्पू यूज करते हो, you've been a different player. And man, like this is again, I don't want to go on a tangent because we're already up on time, but उसको कितना game time मिला है पिछले 2 साल में, and the level of performances he's churned out. This is just a reflection of your failed philosophy as a team. Then you have Rizwan, you have Abdullah, You have, I would say, even Saud Shakil to an extent. Like he was put into a position where he clearly wasn't cut out for it, but he made the best of what he could. He wasn't amazing, but he wasn't
फखर
terrible
जमान.
either. यार फखर जमान तो उसको तो जितनी आप I don't think I've had an affinity with a cricketer as much as he has changed our lives, I think. उसने हमें एक वाहिद ODI ट्रॉफी दी है आफ्टर 92. उसने हमें जितने ही नॉस्टैल्जिया मर्चेंट्स अभी आप आपके एपिसोड अभी खत्म हो गई है, बट ये सईद अनवर अनवर जो भी था लाइक बहुत अच्छा क्रिकेटर था, वन ऑफ द ग्रेटेस्ट ऑफ ऑल टाइम. बट पाकिस्तान का ग्रेटेस्ट ODI ओपनर इज फखर जमान, एंड यू कैन नॉट चेंज माई माइंड अबाउट दैट आफ्टर दिस वर्ल्ड कप. तो yeah, also, anyways, I'll stop talking now. Guests आप लोगों, so I'm gonna go to Haris. What changes do you want to see after this World Cup? And
Yeah, yeah. I
obviously,
just
if you want
wanna.
to talk about any of these guys, feel free.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing. तुमने बाबर आजम के ऊपर पहले बात कर रहे थे. I don't want to go back into that, but I will say कि I've seen even Ramiz talk about कि, and this kind of goes back. It's gonna go to the changes I want. कि Ramiz talk about कि यार अगर bowling wicket नहीं लेगी तो क्या करेगा? That is very fair, and I actually made this point कि this World Cup alone, I don't blame Babar Azam that much. Probably batting was more disappointing, but अगर Babar Azam, if you think back in this World Cup, what next? What changes? I would have been willing to support Babar Azam and say, you know what, let's give him another 4 years if he had won us anything, But that's unfortunately for Babar not the case. ठीक है इस World Cup में bowling में नहीं perform किया, but what do you have to defend for yourself where the bowling was performing? The two Asia Cups आप एक जितवा देते यार, the two T20 World Cups, एक जितवा देते, and then I would genuinely be sitting here and saying, yeah, no, this guy has actually won us a trophy when everything was working perfectly. Let's give him an extended run. But he's shown nothing, and this is where I was coming from in 2022 when I was actually vilified, and I was made whatever I was made. That yeah, I was just trying to show the world that this guy is not that guy, and that's okay. He's a good enough batsman. Let's come back to and bat for us and win us games. But didn't happen. We gave him another World Cup. He probably deserved it, but that's fine. We're gonna close the chapter now, and we're gonna start a new book. So what I want moving ahead, I want a new captain. Obviously, that doesn't need to be said. And I'll tune back into the Pakistan team very happily when there's a new captain and a new change, new management, new coach, new vice captain, new captain, and a new philosophy. I want us to change the way we play cricket, because the way we played cricket the last 4 years was very, uh, it was a way we played cricket that, I don't know, it was very kind of like vanilla. It was very vanilla cricket, and it didn't win us it didn't win us anything. So मेरा ख्याल है change the way we play cricket यार, थोड़ा सा aggressive हो यार. You have players like Abdullah Shafiq, Sam Ayub, Fakhar Zaman still in the mix, Muhammad Haris, Azam Khan. Bring these guys into the white ball setup and change the way you play cricket. Learn from India, like Rohit Sharma जो attacking batsmanship कर रहा है, being a captain. Learn from him. Learn from England, the way they have transformed their white ball cricket. ठीक है इस साल उन्होंने नहीं अच्छा किया, but they've still won 2 World Cups, right? With that transformation. So transform your cricket. That's what I want. Yeah, rip up the pages, rip up, like, unlearn the recipe, whatever the recipe right now you have, and let's cook again. Let us cook, but in a different recipe. So that's what I want. A new captain, change, man. And whoever the captain is, I don't know. I don't know if it's Shaheen because of the way his bowling performance is, and thoda sa fitness. Probably maybe Rizwan is the answer, but then even Rizwan, you need to give him a coach that that can put him on the pedestal and thoda sa, just change the way we play cricket. I don't want to play the boring defensive cricket. I want us to attack. And we have the batsmen. We have Sam Ayub, we have Abdullah, we have Fakhr, we have Haris, we have Azam Khan. I'm talking specifically white ball cricket to change the way we want to play cricket. Or yeah, and I'll end it off. And the players you said that performed well. Wasim Junior, he was bowling throwdowns in the warm-up games. Again, he's always someone who stepped up for Pakistan. So shout out to him. Fakhr Zaman, of course. अगर मैंने ट्वीट भी की थी, अगर हम और लाहौर कलंदर बॉयज को चाबियां देते अपनी टीम की, जिसमें अब्दुल्ला और फखर को, maybe you would have won more games. So thank you, Lahore Kalandars. Thank you, Fakhr Zaman. And who else? Yeah, I don't know. Am I missing it? Abdullah Shafiq, again, another Lahore Kalandar boy. So thank you for showing us some light in this dark times. And we'll be back next year and next World Cup, and we'll see how it goes. That's all, man.
वेरी वेल सेड हारिस. और ये फखर जमान कोई लाहौर कलंदर्स का प्रोडक्ट नहीं है, ये PNS Karsaz is in. I don't know which one it is.
Yeah, Pakistan Navy, let's go. But मैं ये कहूंगा कि देखो मैं मेरे हिसाब से क्रिकेट हैज रीच्ड अ पॉइंट वेयर हमारी इडियोटिक लोग बोलते हैं कि कुदरत का निज़ाम ये वो दिस डजंट वर्क एनीमोर बिकॉज ऑल ऑफ योर ऑपोजिशन दे हैव स्टार्टेड अकाउंटिंग फॉर वेरिएबल्स टू सच एन एक्सटेंट दैट दे कैन एलिमिनेट बकवास लाइक कुदरत का निज़ाम एंड मोमेंटम. They will, as we saw in this tournament, as we saw in all the previous tournaments, जब भी momentum हम catch करके आगे चलते थे, we just would reach a roadblock at the end because teams account for so many variables now. We can't even think about like कितनी data आ गई है, कितना information आ गया है. Looking at this stuff, looking at matchups, looking at how I should bowl to Flana batsmen, what I should be looking to do, what do they struggle against, and there's like पता नहीं क्या क्या drills करते होंगे, stuff like that. Like it's not just from a data point of view, even like from a fitness point of view, from a cricketing shots point of view, cricketing IQ point of view, matchup situation की simulation in training. There's so many things I can't even think of them right now. These things we don't even account for them. And ये हमारी opposition हमसे बहुत आगे चली गई है इन मामलों में. तो that's what, like Haris said, we need to rip up the script and start writing a new movie. Otherwise ये जो हमारा style of cricket था, it's obsolete now, it's archaic and it's redundant. It's not going to win you anything in the future. So those things need to change, right? And to do that from a top down, you need to execute a plan and a vision and empower competent leadership. That's what you need to do, right? Because unfortunately हमारा मुल्क unstable है because of the PCB chairman being appointed by the PM, and it's basically अपने best buddy को लगा देते हैं. तो that's a sad reality. But in an ideal world, you would have a 4-year plan and you would appoint a chairman who would be able to execute it, right? Who would appoint the relevant head coach and relevant captain, whatever, vice captain, जो भी है, right? But this is just idealism. That's not going to happen. So ignoring the chairman, we can go to the next highest degree of leadership that I could say could be appointed. I genuinely feel that we should somehow get Abdul Rahman and Rizwan as the head coach and the captain. That is a dynamic that has shown success, right? At a domestic level, it has shown a lot of success. So you need those guys there. That's like a partnership because Rizwan jo hai, he leads from the front, he leads from his actions, he has proactive field placements. But in my opinion, and काफी अच्छा man manager motivator, but in my opinion, tactically इतना वो astute नहीं है. As you see with Multan Sultans, right? So you need someone like Abdul Rahman who has a good working relationship with him and is also tactically astute that they can work together and basically create a movie script that is going to be good for us to watch. Vice captain wise, I think you should have Shaheen because I think he's a great competitor. He is a I've heard कि थोड़ा सा उसमें जिद and all है थोड़ा सा he gets very angry, he gets very ruffled easily, but I do see leadership qualities in him. I see them in Lahore Qalandars. You have to be a good leader if you're the only PSL captain to win 2 PSLs in a row and you did it in your first 2 seasons as a captain. That means something, and he's still so young. Right? So you need to develop that and empower him under Rizwan, someone who is a bit more level-headed and mature कि वो फिर उस पे rub off भी हो जाएगा. So I think that's like a great partnership to make. With regards to T20s, I think we play too many of them. Wahan Shaheen shouldn't be near the captaincy. He's a precious resource. He should be rested. So probably I hate Shadab Khan's face and I want to punch him, but I think he should probably be captain there or vice captain, jo bhi hai. But I mean, I don't like him, but you have to be practical. And yeah, aside from that, आपको जो काफी लोगों को प्लेयर्स को भी निकालना पड़ेगा. Like first of Imam ul Haq, I don't want to see him near a high performance center. I don't want to see him in a green shirt. वो लाहौर में green shirt में नजर आ जाए तो उसकी shirt उतार देंगे. Like he's not allowed to be in the Pakistan team, right? वो तो and white shirt भी test team भी get lost. He's gone, right? Fakhar Zaman, I love you. You can retire whenever you want, wherever you want. तुम्हारी farewell game भी होगी. So you can play however long you want. Aside from that, I think some other guys that we need to like get rid of are like, I love Hassan Ali, but he was a stopgap player, and we can move on now. I think we need to like we have 4 years now, right? 4 years till the next World Cup. But aside from that, you have other tournaments coming up, so you need to plan for those. So you need to start bringing up some of the talent that we've mentioned already, like Saima Ayub, great player. Mohammad Haris needs to be made the long term six now at ODIs. आप इफ्तिखार अहमद को निकाल दो, right? He's too old now. 4 years में realistically he's not going to be at the World Cup. So Haris is someone we should be backing at six. He's done it at under 19 level. He's shown he can do that role. I think he's a very clutch player, and I think he can play that finisher role. South can stay as a stopgap five for now. I can't think of anyone who can replace him right now. Maybe आपको Azam Khan को भी consider करना चाहिए. I think his skill set. I don't care how many chili cheese parathas he eats and how much jewel he smokes or whatever, how much vape he hits. Like his skill set is something that you have to exploit, right? जो बंदा एक 140 kph डिलीवरी को आउटसाइड ऑफ से लेके स्कूप करके स्वीप करके छक्का मार सकता है ऑन द लेग साइड आउट ऑफ द national stadium, that's insane. That's actually nuts. And I don't know if you want to lock him in a, I don't know if you want to lock him in some cell and put ताला लगा दो उसके फ्रिज पे और पता नहीं क्या करना है. But you beat him with the belt until he starts performing well for Pakistan. Don't take these things I'm saying seriously. Like, I don't condone abuse, but मैं बस कह रहा हूँ कि we need to exploit his skill set. And हमारे bowlers भी इंशाल्लाह अब नसीम जब भी वापस आएगा, you want him back in there. I want Shahnawaz Dahani to cook, so I am an advocate for him still. But let's see, like Australia, we will be there. Dahani will be there for some other reasons aside from cricket as well. But I think मैं ramble करना शुरू कर दिया. But the point I'm trying to make is that you need to, what your current leaders and a lot of your current players can offer, right? Now you have 4 years to experiment. You have 4 years to take risks and 4 years to fail until you find the right people. Try your best to use these 4 years productively and empower the right stakeholders to execute a vision that will result in some form of success. That's the thing you need to do. So we need people who can rightly identify these players who can be there for us in these next few years. जिनके नाम लिए हैं, like Saim Ayub for sure, Mohammad Haris, Naseem Shah, kids like this, right? You don't want to waste them. Ye resources you have to employ. And yeah, I mean, if we can do that, then who knows? I'll tune in. But I just hope these guys get a chance. Yeah, and Azam Khan.
Azam Khan, I'm telling you guys, next year he is going to cook in West Indies. उसमें जो बैठ के छक्के मारने ना bowlers को, हम ये सब भूल ही जाएंगे. But I echo everything Haris and Zen said. We need to blood in some of these
And
youngsters.
Arshad Iqbal, like you mentioned, that guy is a
Yeah,
beast.
Arshad Iqbal, I'm hoping to see him in Australia. इमामुल हक को तो मैं ये कहता हूँ वापसी पे चेन्नई के पास जो समंदर है उसमें फेंक कर आ जाओ. Not literally, I don't condone violence, but you get what I mean. Captaincy wise, I agree with Zen. Like I don't want Shaheen near the white ball captaincy just because of the workload that it entails. I think T20s में Shadab, yeah, as much as currently I want to slap him, and it's like he's like that little kid for me who is constantly disappointing me, but आखिर में है अपना ही लड़का. तो कुछ I think he can be the T20. I wouldn't even mind if Rizwan is the T20 captain, to be honest. But yeah, if not him, then Shadab. Abdur Rahman, I totally agree. I think जो भी है, hire a coach who has a proper philosophy, give that philosophy an uninterrupted 4 years. I don't care आप कितने bilateral हार जाओ, आप कितने वो कर लो, 4 साल उस फिलोसफी पे आपको टिकना है. यू नीड टू गो द इंग्लैंड वे. पीसीबी चेयरमैन पे मैं ज्यादा बात नहीं करूंगा. आजकल जका अशरफ नई शलवार खरीदने जाता है तो कैमरा मैन उसके साथ होता है पिक्चर फोटोशूट लेने के लिए, तो वो तो भूल ही जाओ. But yeah, these are the things I think we can change. But on that note, I will end this episode, which is I honestly feel honestly I expected us to be a lot it is to be a lot more angry, but maza aaya, thoda light-hearted conversation, and I think some really good analysis from both of you here. And like I'm sure the listeners will also agree with the vast majority of the points that we made today. With that, thank you everyone. Uh, we will see more content coming through as PSL season approaches. So stay tuned for that on Pinch Hitters. And this is the Cover Drive podcast. It was good being with you guys again. Thank you, Haris and Zen. And take care and Allah Hafiz.